Hi everybody, thanks for joining me. Happy Monday night, happy Easter, happy Passover, whatever you celebrating. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. So today was a pretty interesting day in Bitcoin. I'm going to switch to regular candles and I'm going to take off my Heikanashi thing. And the reason it was a really interesting day is that the stocks had a really rough ride lower, and Bitcoin, unlike this sell-off that we saw leading up to this holiday weekend, Bitcoin didn't join in and sell off today. And that's pretty positive, you know. We had a false break lower from our Fibonacci support that we were looking around 6,600. Like, the shorts were really stacked up. New all-time highs in Bitcoin shorts at Bitfinex. And for me, you know, there's not really much... there aren't really any fundamentals or news that drives the market in Bitcoin. You know, most of these projects, apart from Bitcoin, obviously, are quite a long way from being anything that you can value fundamentally. And so sentiment for me is a huge factor. And so just the fact, even if this is just a bounce and a downtrend, just the fact that we've got all-time highs in Bitcoin short says to me that we're going to have a decent bounce here. And how high we bounce, let's see. You know, when you look at the Bitcoin shorts, there are so many. When you imagine, that's a lot of stops, that's a lot of buying that has to happen just to cover those shorts, just to get them back to even. So I'm expecting a decent bounce here. The way we behaved when stocks were selling off today kind of lets me lean towards that. And when I look at the weekly, chart of Bitcoin US dollar here, and sorry, I've got it on log scale. Let's take it off log scale. You can see that we're sitting on the weekly 50 moving average. I'm going to pop it back on log again and do this. And you can see that the 50 moving average, which is the blue line, was a pretty important bull bear line. It's like the backstop of moving averages. You like the 20 moving average to catch you on a pullback, or I do, and the 50 is like the backstop. When you lose the 50, you're on your way to the 200 moving average. And if we look at this on the weekly terms in Bitcoin, that's like 2,000. So we really don't want to lose this weekly 50 moving average if we can help it. And if we do, we don't want to make a new low below the 6,000 for sure. So that's my bias. I'm looking for a bounce. How high we bounce will tell us whether we are looking at just a bounce and a downtrend, or whether we're going to see a proper bullish reversal. So I marked the levels the other day. Obviously, there's a pivot level here through the middle around 7,238. But then I think if we get back above 7,800, and if we get back above the daily 20 moving average, then we should see a rally back to this pivot level in the middle around 8,900. Is 50% of the February rally, but a little bit higher than that are these daily moving averages. The daily 200 moving average again, and the daily 50 around 9,400. And that's this low here, 9,300, 9,400. So I would say the next sort of important, if we can rally from here, and there's no guarantee that we can, we could just head south tomorrow, but if we can rally through these resistance levels, then I think 9,300 will be pretty key decider for, and if we're going to fail, it would likely be around there or around 9,500. So that's how I'm seeing Bitcoin. Buy dips. So far we look pretty well supported, and we're holding up pretty nicely. So I'm feeling it. I've bought a small position. I'm going to buy a bit more when we get above 7,250, and then I'll probably buy a lot more if we can get above 7,800. And I'm going to do it that way and limit my risk and keep it really tight, because we are, you know, picking a bottom in a downtrend. So that's how I'm seeing Bitcoin tonight. The next one that I'm going to look at, I'm still not feeling it in Ethereum. In fact, for me in Ethereum, if we look for an equal measured move and the next Fibonacci support in Ethereum US dollar terms, that's at 310, and we're still at 380. So obviously a high tide will float most boats, and it will probably give some support to Ethereum, and we could see a pretty good rally from Ethereum. We could rally all the way back, you know, we could rally all the way back to retest 550, but I'm still seeing lower from this. And when you see that and you think, oh, I wonder what could drive it, but you never know what news might come out more about ICO regulation that could hurt Ethereum. So for me, although we're very, very oversold, we're under 20 on the RSI, and I do think that it'll bounce with the others. Ethereum isn't doing it for me, unfortunately, at the moment. But one of the ones that is doing it for me is Litecoin. It's tick for tick with Bitcoin, hasn't made a new low either. And so I'm watching Litecoin US dollar I like based on patterns, as you know. And if I look at Litecoin against Bitcoin, as long as Bitcoin continues to outperform and try to move higher from here, I think I'm going to stick with it. It's got a bit of work to do, but I'm feeling it, to be honest. And when I look at the weekly in Litecoin Bitcoin, as you know, potentially I think this is a big weekly bottoming pattern. So this is the weekly 20 moving average. It's the 382 fib pullback. It's a pretty good place to bounce from. So far we're holding it, but if it doesn't, then I'll just go back to Bitcoin and wait and see what happens with this one. But for now, we've had a decent bounce. I'm going to see if we get some more follow through to the upside. So it's not a passionate, I know I've been quite passionate about Litecoin before. I'm not super passionate about it today, but I do think it will track Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin gets higher from here, then Litecoin's at a really good fib level to do it too. So I'm just going to make my decision based on which one is outperforming. So a couple of major altcoins that are doing pretty well are Monero again. So here's a 4-hour chart of Monero US dollar. And look at this really cool bottoming pattern. Flip the 4-hour moving averages. If we take a look at the daily and I flip to regular candles, as you know, I like Heikinashi, you can see here we are at the daily 20 moving average. So a bit of a decision here and a bit of a pivot level. But if Monero can push through, if Bitcoin pushes through, I think Monero should push through, and Monero is outperforming Bitcoin at the moment. So I'm watching this pattern here on the 4-hour. So if Monero gets above 0.026, I like it a lot. It's quite important at the moment, while it's a bit iffy with what Bitcoin's doing, to look at most of these pairs against US dollar as well, because the last thing you want to do is, if Bitcoin's headed lower, buy something against Bitcoin that looks like it's doing really well, but actually you're still losing in US dollar terms. So for me, Monero in US dollar, I've got us in this descending channel. I think if we can pop out of this channel to the upside, then that's the move that I'd be looking for. And then I'm going to look for 50% of this last drop, which in Monero is going to take me to about 264.95. So watching for a turn up here in Monero. So another one that's doing really well against Bitcoin is Lumen. Now most people trade Lumen XLM against Bitcoin, so I'm going to start with Bitcoin, Stellar Bitcoin. Here we are, we've got a double bottom. We've breached the level in the middle of this double bottom. Again, I'm going to pop this onto regular candles. So here's our double bottom. Here's our confirmation level in the middle. Here we are just above it and just testing the daily 50 moving average. So Lumen has got the look. And if we can close above this daily 50 moving average, that price is 3,640. If we can continue through that level, then we should see a really decent move higher. A reversal around a 786 usually reverses to the 382 fibs, so that would be 4475 next upside target for Stellar Bitcoin. But again, it's quite important to make sure that it looks okay against the US dollar and you're not, losing money in fiat terms. So I like to take a look, and if you can see the confirmation that we're going to go higher, we've got nice bullish moves on the daily against US dollar, but this is the 200-day moving average and the 20-day moving average, and this 20-day moving average has capped us down all the way. So I'd like to see Lumen a little bit higher. Let's go down to a 4-hour chart, and I would say 50% of this drop, if we can push through that, we're likely not in an uptrend, and here we are right above it, so maybe a little bit higher. Let's go back to the daily because that didn't work. There you go. Yeah, maybe 0.242, above 0.242. A daily close above that would be a bottom for me in Lumen and reverse the trend. And then I'd be looking for a move higher to the 50 moving average and these prior lows and highs. If you look, you can draw a level through the middle here. these highs, these lows, and here. And so that's going to be around 0.309. And then the first Fibonacci target is 0.35. So nearly there in Lumen for what should be a really decent run if we can get above these moving averages. So that's how I'm seeing Lumen, and ADA is doing the same thing after such a deep pullback in ADA. Let's start on the daily. ADA's going sideways and found feet at the 786 fib. If we can reverse here and turn higher, so that would mean again above the daily 20 moving average and above these prior highs, reverse the trend, then the target should be the 382. When you reverse the 786 fib, you go usually to the 382. So that's all the way back to 5,700 in ADA. I'm going to take these away in a minute, but the first fib confirmation for me that we're going higher in ADA is 3,445. So that's my first target, and then my second target is at 5,700. So 3,400 and then 5,700. So what have we got to do to say that we're going higher? Well, I've drawn a trend line here. You can see, I'm going to pop regular candles on so you can see, and this is the daily 20 moving average that we're sideways at. So if Bitcoin can move higher, then all of these other assets, blockchain assets, should do the same. And they're all kind of sideways waiting to see what happens in Bitcoin. So, you know, really Bitcoin is the king right now, and that's the one that we should be paying attention to. And if Bitcoin doesn't work and it heads lower, all of these should be off the table and wait and see. You know, you can draw a trend line through these lows. If this breaks, I think we see one more swing lower, and then the next support in Cardano is 1,296 if it all goes south. So it is quite important that we break out of this wedge and confirm that we're going higher. And the first thing that I want to see is a daily close above 2,187 and that daily 20 moving average, and then look to these wedge highs and so on. So on a lower time frame, how does this look in ADA? If we look at a lower time frame, we've got this rally, then potentially, you know, it's like a little bull flag, but we're stalled. This is the price level, and we're stalled, and we haven't been able to close above it on the 4-hour either. And if we go down to an hourly, we kind of did get above it, but not quite. So if you want to look for an early entry, you know, draw your trend line like this and set an alert on it so you get warned when ADA's on the move, but really at close back above that level, 2,190, I would put my alarm at. And that would say to me that we're going higher in ADA. So another one that's had a pretty good day is Waves. Here's Waves. I've got it on a 4-hour. Waves has been this long declining wedge. And again, like most of these other crypto assets, hasn't made a new low at the 786 fib. A reversal here or a breakout from this declining wedge in Waves and above the daily 20 moving average target is 83,000. So we're reversal from the 786 fib usually goes to the 382. The fibs in the middle, you need to keep an eye on the 50% in the middle. Quite often, that's a pivot level. And if I put that on the daily, you can see that's also where the 200 moving average is. So when we break out, we can expect to wobble around 73,800, but our target should be 83,000. So I'm watching Waves Bitcoin for a breakout. And again, this is another one, whenever you're trading them against Bitcoin, don't buy it if Bitcoin goes lower, and if you do and it still breaks out, make sure that you check it against the US dollar and you're still making money in fiat terms. Here you can see it's a pretty nice double bottom, isn't it, in Waves. If we move this up and we break this, so in a double bottom, the way you measure your targets, so this is the low, this is the high in the middle. So if we break above these highs in the middle, this becomes our target. It becomes an equal distance that we go from the low to the high in the middle. So that would give us a target in Waves US dollar of 13.96. But for now, we've still got that same declining wedge. We're looking for a breakout of it. So yeah, it's holding up. It doesn't look quite as good as Waves Bitcoin. But again, and another one, don't. If Bitcoin can't do it, like, it will be most blockchain assets are going to go down too. So that's how I see waves. The next one we're going to look at, huge interest in Verge. Okay, so I'm going to do Verge Bitcoin first. This is Verge US dollar. Same thing, you know, you want to look at what Verge US dollar. We can see in Verge US dollar, we're being held. Sorry, I need to mute all of these before you all go deaf. Sorry. Gosh. The alarms work.
Got quite a few requests coming in, which we can cover.
Okay. So Verge US dollar held under the 200-day moving average and the daily 50 moving average. So pretty important level in Verge US dollar at 0.049. So before you look at Bitcoin, that's what you need to be looking at. So Verge against Bitcoin, obviously we've had this spectacular breakout and it looks really good. So above all of our daily moving averages, and usually when you see this and you pull back, retest the 50 moving average and power away, you don't usually come back until the trend is over. So there is going to be a sticky level here at 713, and then above 713, I've just drawn this as an equal channel. I'm looking for 1,151 in Verge Bitcoin. This one is definitely outperforming Bitcoin, and as long as everything stays happy and everything's going higher, Verge Bitcoin, I'm looking for this level. The way I've drawn this channel, it's just a parallel. I've got 3 touches on this bottom line, so I'm looking for it to kind of make an equal distant channel this way. So 50% of the drop is usually a pretty reasonable target. So 1,151, but watch out for trouble at 713 or a bit of a wobble there first. So Verge. Okay, so I'm going to leave Icon ICX. I know everyone wants to know about it, but I'm going to talk about Power Ledger. I've got Power Ledger against US dollar. Double, you know, it's trying to make a base here. Had a false break lower. This is a 4-hour chart of Power Ledger on against US dollar. You can see that we're in a pretty solid downtrend against US dollar, but it's looking pretty good against Bitcoin. So what I just wanted to make sure is that it's going to go up against Bitcoin. And I'm just looking to see where we are in fib terms in Power Ledger down here. Should be the 886, yeah, 886 fib. That's good, because when you reverse it an 886, you usually go back to the 50%. So now we've got a target. So here we are at 0.26 in Power Ledger, trying to make a double bottom. If we can, and if we reverse the trend here, big picture, I'm looking for 1.047. So as most people trade Power Ledger in Bitcoin, let's take a look at Bitcoin chart. And here we go. You can see making a really decent base here. Now, there's really that we're stuck at this level through the middle and these prior highs. And until we can close at a new daily high, and so for me, that's going to be above 4,550, then I think we're pretty stuck. The first sign, positive sign, that we're for sure going higher will be a close above the daily 20 moving average at 4,300, and then above 4,550, Power Ledger should be able to power away. You know, we've had 2 weeks making a base here, haven't been able to make a new low, holding on to major support. So hopefully, if the tide turns, then it will for this one, and we'll see a really decent move higher. So again, this is an 886 fib retrace. I'm going to look for 8,400 for my first target in Power Ledger, but 5,085 will be the first resistance level. So 5,085 and then 8,400 target. Power Ledger. James says there's lots of requests. What's the most popular, James?
What is the scenario if Bitcoin fails at 7,200?
I'm going to do that, and I'll recap Bitcoin at the end. Okay, so bear in mind, all of these altcoins that I'm looking at that are setting up are really based on Bitcoin being able to have a bit of a bounce, and these coins outperforming. So here's one VeChain. declining wedge as well, doing all right. I'm kind of watching this one. I'd really like to see a break on this. Is a 4-hour chart. You can see best the pattern, and this is the 4-hour 200 moving average that's holding us down, and the horizontal level that I'm watching is 41,950. Above a 4-hour close above 41,950 is a breakout from this wedge consolidation in VeChain, and then we should be able to reach 50% of this drop if we can do that. So let's mark that. Let's just put them on the right so we can see. So there we go, 56,400 would be my first target on a breakout. And then above 56,400, I think we can say that we're in a new upswing. So keep an eye on VeChain against Bitcoin. And another one, it's another one that you have to check against the US dollar. So you can see we are actually going higher. Haven't reversed the trend in this one either, but we're at 4-hour moving averages. We're crawling our way back above them. If we go to a daily in VeChain, then clearly we've got this level and we've got this 20 moving average. So then if we look at it in US dollars, we can see what we've got to get above. And I look for support. When I draw support and resistance, I like to see the most touches. But this 20 moving average is a little bit higher. So I'm going to say above 3.14, for sure, you're out of trouble. 3.14, you're above this level and above the 20 moving average. And then 3.85 is your first fib target for VeChain against the dollar. So Komodo, I know people think I'm probably crazy about Komodo. I'm always going on about it. Here's Komodo, and Komodo's breaking out. Hooray. After how long? I've been so patient with Komodo. Now, Komodo's been in a declining wedge as well. We've broken out of it. We've got 4 touches on the downside. We've got 3 touches on the upside. And here's our breakout. We're going to get some trouble on the daily here at the daily 20 moving average and this prior low and high. So your first target upside in Komodo is 42,000. That's where that daily 200 moving averages. And then once we negotiate our way through that, which might be a bit of a wobble, then fib targets on the upside 53,000, 61,500, and then 72,000. But I'm feeling it in Komodo, and I'm going to buy a small position, and I'm going to add to my position above the daily 200 moving average, as long as all the other blockchain assets keep going higher too. I'll just take my Heikenhashi candles off and you can see. So let's go Komodo. That's the daily chart of Komodo. And if I take these off, you can see that we're above our 20 moving average. Just got to negotiate the 50 and we're on our way up. So looking good in Komodo. Buy pullback. So whenever you get above these moving averages, it's important that you come back, that you see that when you come back and retest them, that they hold as support. So, really, if Komodo dips back below 34,500, this isn't going to work. It needs to pull back and then turn higher again. And that pullback entry and successful retest is what I look forward to get in and get long. So that's Komodo, and it looks good against the US dollar as well, Komodo. So next one we're going to look at is BNB, Binance Coin. What a great run this one had. I'm looking at against Tether. I've got quite a lot marked on this chart. So we had this sort of ABC correction in Binance Coin. This is a 4-hour against Tether that I'm looking at. And then we went into this long sideways declining wedge that we finally broke out of. Not declining wedge, like an equal triangle, broke out, came back, retested this 200 moving average on the 4-hour, and now we're on our way higher again. Now, normally, if you're going to get trouble in a pullback like this, it's usually 50% of the drop, and at 50% you'll see another leg lower. So if we draw this in Binance, you can see that we've pushed through that 50% level, and we're just testing it now for support. And so I'm looking for really BNB to keep going. But if it stalls a little bit higher, like the 61.8 at 12.94, then we could potentially see a pullback there. 61.8 38.2, and then we'll see this before we go higher. But looking good on the 4-hour moving averages and looking good trend-wise on the daily. Let's look at this on the daily, and you can see that what we've done here is broken out, pulled back, tested our daily moving averages, daily 50, and we're rallying away. So for me, everything looks set to go higher. I really would like to see that 12.95 level taken away, or 13, and then I think we should motor a bit more. So where are we going to go next? Likely 50% here is at 15.38, and then 17.66. These are the next two fibs, and if we get through those, then we should be on track for new highs in Binance Coin. This is BNB against Tether. So next one I'm going to take a quick look at is Storj. I've got more coins to do. The title didn't let me put them all on. So Storj had a bit. Let's take a look at Storj Bitcoin on daily. So we've had a big move today and a massive spike. And if you missed it, luckily it's come all the way back to let you get in. If it's not a pump and dump, what it will do is find some support and then go higher. So I'm going to take these fibs off because we'll do them the other way. Where did we stop? So we stopped at the 50% of this drop. So that should be our first target on a retest, the 50%, 15,630. Now, all of these daily moving averages were all bunched up together here in a really, really narrow range in Storj. And that's always a sign that a big movement's coming. So as long as we can hold above them on this pullback, so that means holding 10,000, then we should be good to go higher. So 10,000 is where we don't really want to come below. So let's mark 10,000. So you don't have to have FOMO, you can buy pullbacks. So kind of these prior highs really, and 10,000 is where we should be looking. A little bit lower here. So watch for a pullback to this level and then a turn higher, 10,000. And if it's going to do it, that's where you'll get your turn. And if it's not, then we'll just bounce from here and then we'll fail back at this 12,000 level. So that will be your exit. So watch for a bounce. And then if we can get back above 12,000, up we go. And if we don't, then we stay in our lane and stay in this tight range. And this was just a false breakout. But if you buy it here with a decent pullback, you've got a run at that level and you can get out if it doesn't work. And we just stay in this wedge pattern that we've been in. And it was all for nothing. So there you go. That's how I see Storj Bitcoin. Wait for a pullback towards that 10,000 level. And a rally from there. Okay, the next one I'm going to do that wasn't on is Bluezell and Wanchain. Now GVT I'm just going to mention GVT because I see a bear flag here, and I know this was one that we traded and was super popular. But if this bear flag breaks down, or we break back below the 50 moving average and this 382 fib level at 27,300, forget hodling. Get out and wait, because this is going to make a big ABC correction. So if this is the first swing, then this would be the second swing, and we'd be looking at 18,900. Well, we're at 28,000 now, so you do not want to hodl and give that much back in profit. So watch that bear flag in GVT. Actually, it's 18,000 where I think we come, and the 618 retrace. So keep an eye on GVT. So I'm just going to mention two quickly here, which are Bluezell. I've got it on a 4-hour chart. We're climbing our way higher in this one, slowly through the moving averages. I had an alarm here. I'm going to take this away and tidy up a bit here. But this is just like a daily chart. When you get above these fib levels, we've banged our head at these prior highs and we've pulled back to test these moving averages. I'm looking for this to turn higher from here and 51.90, and then my target is 6,300 for blue Zell. So pretty good signs of basing in this one. Here was our first wedge that we broke out of, and so this level here, 4,076, is support. If we close below 4,076, then it's probably not going to work, and we're back below those moving averages. And if we can turn and rally from here, so above 4,400, then I'm looking for 5,190 and 6,300 in blue Zell, just waiting for the turn. Let's see how this hourly looks. Almost time to go higher again. So this is another one, you know, it's like it needs Bitcoin and good sentiment in blockchain for this to rally as well, but it's all setting up for me to go higher in blue Zell from here. And the other one that's setting up potentially is WAN. This is WAN Bitcoin. Another one that needs a bit of a tidy up here. So we had a pretty good inverted bottoming pattern here. We've got above it, and we bounced from a 618 fib. We haven't quite reached our 382, so I'm looking for it to keep going higher. Now these prior highs that were resistance are now support. So this is our support and resistance level through the middle here in WAN. I think this is a good project, so that's why I'm interested in it. So I'm watching for this one to turn higher again here as well. To be sure, you know, this 50 in the middle, I'm going to say that above 47,300 sat, then I think WAN should make another leg higher. And if it's just corrective, it should make another equal swing to this one. So it would be something like this, from this low to this high, project it from here. So I'm looking for 50,000 and then 53,600. Those are bearish targets. And if we're going to see a new bullish swing, then 59,600 would be the 1618 of that first swing. So back to this high. So watching this one for a breakout. Whenever you see it all bunched up like this, all the moving averages, this is an hourly chart of WAN, remember? It's quite new. I'm watching for this one to pop. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I've got on my list. So let's go back and talk about Bitcoin and the possibilities. Now, if previously Bitcoin has usually, been quite closely correlated with stocks, and it didn't sell off today. Now, I think a lot of people were taking today as a holiday, and if Bitcoin decides to play catch up tomorrow, then obviously we're going to head lower and we're going to retest these lows. I've said, this is the weekly 50 moving average. A close below it on a weekly level, on a weekly for me, would be quite bearish. My next target on the downside is 4,400. That's where all the fibs line up if we head lower for me. And that's a 786 fib, but it's also a bullish Gartley pattern. So I would this is so good of a level that I would just leave an order there. But I really don't see it. I would be, the market, when there's so many, let's look at, when there are so many people short, the market just doesn't let everybody win when they're short on leverage, that just doesn't. So if you put a gun to my head, I think it's more likely that we bounce. But if we do lose this support level, and if we drop below 6,000, then 4,400 is where you should have your orders, and you should cancel all your alts and just let them sit and wait until that's done. So are there any more questions you can see?
There's a few requests here.
Okay.
Fingerito is asking for ICX.
Okay, ICX. Icon, ICX. The problem with ICX, I see, is there's no, for me, on the 4 hour, we're underneath important moving averages, and there's no sign. I like this bounce, and I'm looking for a correction and it not to make a new low and turn higher again. The problem is when I look on the 4 hour on the daily, I'm underneath all of those moving averages, and I need more evidence of a bottom in ICX to get excited. So if I go down to an hourly, it's starting to look all right. Here's the problem. It's like it's wedge consolidation here at the moment, or a narrow range on the hourly. So I'd really like to see a powerful breakout from that range. And, you know, wedges, you very often see them towards the end of the trend, and they very often break with the trend, which would mean lower before higher. So that's why I say I really want to see a strong move outside of this sideways consolidation to the upside. And then if we did that, then I'd buy a pullback in ICX. So I am expecting it to turn higher. I'm just not, it's just too much resistance for me to want to buy it right now. If I put my fibs on from here, let's see where we are. See, this is the other thing. We're underneath this 618 level, and as long as that's now resistance, so if we, for this big rally that we do from the low that we made on the 18th of March, we're underneath the 618, and the 786 fib, which is the next support, is lower. We haven't tagged it yet. So that's at 26.93. So as long as we can't get above 3,132, then I think 2,693 is most likely where we'd head, and I'd be a buyer there, or I'd watch for bullish reaction there in ICX. So James is helping me read the comments. What's the next one, James?
Okay, we've got BNB, Bravo November Bravo, which is Oliver Wilson is asking for that one.
Yeah, we looked at BNB, that's Binance Coin. We looked at it against Tether, and I'm really bullish. We've pulled back to these daily moving averages, and we're headed higher. If you're trading it against Bitcoin, then it should look really good against Bitcoin as well. Let's see. You know, I think it's, you know, approaching previous highs here in Bitcoin. So if you were looking for targets in BNB now, Bitcoin, then I look for 1.618, and I'm going to do, 1.618, which would be 23,413, and then 32,738. I really do, actually I haven't quite measured that right, 24,600 and 34,650. I really do like this BNB. I think it's set to go higher. And yeah, I like it against Tether. I like it against Bitcoin. I like it against all of them. And if I do the fibs on here, we can do the same. Let's make them different color. And so that's a 2.618, 4. Yeah, that says that I've got all these levels right. So that's something, right? So definitely 24,500 to 25,000 is your next upside target for BNB against Bitcoin. I think it's awesome. And the support in this one now is at 16,300. We should not go back below 16,300 if we're going to keep going higher in BNB Bitcoin. Okay, next one.
Niraj is asking for TRX.
TRX. Oh, I was going to do TRX as well. I apologize. Let's take a look at TRX, okay? I think I had it on my list. I can't believe I didn't put it on. So TRX, I put it on because it's not one of the ones that is set to go higher yet today. But I like to buy pullbacks to moving averages. That's basically my strategy. So I'm a trend trader. The moving averages are just like visual depictions of the trend. They're not predictive. They just help you see what the real direction is. And so for me, in TRX against Bitcoin on the daily, we've got a bullish cross of our daily moving averages, and we've pulled back to test them for support. And so I'm looking for a move higher here. And the first thing I need to see to buy this is a close above this daily 20 moving average. And so that's at 495 today. So if we can close today above 495, which is right overhead resistance where we are now, then I think that we have a good chance of continuing higher. If we do just this 236 fib from this most recent low to high, it's usually about the same price. 492. So 492. I'm going to say 495 anyway, just for to be a little bit more conservative. So yeah, I am looking for TRX. I think it is set to swing higher, and that daily will do it for me. And on the hourly, look, super bullish cross, everything looking really good for TRX. but it hadn't quite done it. And you know, those daily 20 moving averages can be quite tough resistance. So we could just, I've seen it before, you can go sideways in this range for a little bit, and I wouldn't, you know, we could just do another like this before we go. So be a little bit careful. But yeah, I like TRX. And if this was our first swing higher, if this is our first swing higher in TRX, the problem is that we may have only seen one leg of correction. So be a bit careful. I'm going to put these fib retrace level back on again. Be a bit careful that we don't fail and you see another leg lower from 555. That's all. But above 555, I think we're out of trouble and we should be on our way much higher. And 821 I'd be looking for next. Yeah, but looks good. Nearly there in TRX. Anything else, James?
T subject is asking for XRP, which you haven't covered.
Ripple. Okay, there's a reason why the Ripple. I was going to mention Ripple. Let's look at Ripple US dollar first, and we'll start on a daily. And Ripple is when I look at the major altcoins next to Bitcoin, I'm looking for ones that have made like ABC corrections and haven't gone below the February lows. And the problem with Ripple is that we have, and we're in, you know, we're still in a downtrend with Bitcoin and Litecoin and Monero and some of the others that are holding on, you know, and haven't made a new low. We can say that they're going sideways and they have good potential to bounce, whereas Ripple and Ethereum, which have made new lows, are still in a pretty, you know, solid downtrend. Now, Ripple dollar is at a fib level where a lot of stuff lines up. It's the 113 of this, it's the 1272 of this most recent bounce, it's a big 886 fib retrace. You know, people say, oh, crypto likes to retrace 90%. Actually, the fib level is 886. And 886 is the square root of the 786 fib. And the 786 fib is the square root of 618, which is pi. So they are all proper fib numbers. Somebody tried to tell me the other day 886 wasn't. It is. So 0.49 is a pretty good level for Ripple US dollar to find some support. So but because it's such a downtrend on the daily, it has to do something really impressive to say to me, I'm going higher. And so the first thing it has to just do is make a higher high. You know, we're still on a 4-hour chart or an hourly chart making lower lows and lower highs. And so until that reverses, I'm not going to recommend Ripple. But so we're at a really good level where maybe we can do it. And if Ripple does it, and if Ripple gets above 0.525, then yeah, I think Ripple is at a great level to bounce from here, just like Bitcoin. But until it does something like that, it's still in a downtrend on pretty much every time frame that I look at. You know, on my hourly, we're still in a downtrend. We're just at a level where I think we could do something, but we haven't done enough yet in Ripple. So next one, James.
Peter is asking for BAT.
Peter wants to look at basic attention token. Yeah, haven't got that up, but where is that? Let's take a look.
And someone's asking about your turkeys. Are they flying yet?
No. And Ripple, you know, if Bitcoin, listen, if Bitcoin can reverse the downtrend, then in a strong enough wind, the turkeys will fly. And Ripple, there are a few coins that, like, I am a bit concerned about, but they will all go higher if we get a really good risk bounce throughout all of the blockchain assets. Then everything will go higher. And if you've had one that's really underperforming and you're hodling it, then I urge you to take the opportunity to get out of it on a bounce. And you know, because, yeah, just, I would think about that. So here we are in basic attention token. 618 fib levels are really messy. That means we can go quite a long way beyond them and still count as a reversal at them. I'm counting this as a reversal at a 618. in basic attention token, and we should go to the 382, which is back to 4158, and the 50% level in the middle is the pivot level 3383. So 3383, but I do see this is the first leg, and then I think we see another leg higher to the 382, and then we'll come back to that 50. We'll either go higher or we'll head lower again. I'm not sure which way, but basic attention token, yes. It's not the prettiest chart out there, but it is holding the daily 20 moving average, and it is reversing it as 618. So I think we could rally to at least 41.58. And then when we get there, as long as we hold above 3,380, basic attention token can continue higher from there. So yeah, and this is another one where if you're not sure, let's go back to the daily. I would put it up against US dollar. You can look at most of them on TradingView. If you can't, then look at them against the US dollar coin market cap or something like that, because you want to make sure, and you can see that we're making a bit of a base here in the US dollar. So obviously this is if we lose this support, then you know, it doesn't matter what it looks like against Bitcoin, I wouldn't hang on. So yeah, potentially a double bottom in basic attention token. And then if we do that, then we can easily measure, you know, from this way. So we'll measure our target like this. So our upside target in against the US dollar would be 0.404. Okay. Next one, James.
T subject who requested Ripple said
yeah.
Thank you, and he said if you were chocolate, you'd be Cadbury's caramel.
Okay. If I'm chocolate, I would be Cadbury's caramel. Thank you. I'm not eating any more chocolate. I ate a whole chocolate bunny yesterday and got a migraine for it, so that's the end of the chocolate.
Rogue Posen,
yeah,
is asking for EOS.
EOS. Oh, EOS. I should have done EOS because EOS is quite an interesting chart. Let's go to, I'm going to look at EOS US dollar. This is an interesting chart because EOS US dollar is a bullish Gartley pattern. When we get a bounce from the 618 like we had here, and then a second leg lower, this is a bullish continuation pattern. As long as we hold the support down here and we don't go back below 4.4 or 4. So this is our support and our bullish Gartley. And on ES US dollar, you can see, like Bitcoin, we're holding the daily 200 moving average pretty nicely as well. Bounced off it, or we're trying to today. So I'm looking for EOS. If Bitcoin and all blockchain assets can rally, then EOS is set to rally really nicely from here. 7.36 in US dollar is going to be tricky, but when you get above it, that will confirm that we've bottomed, and then we've got the higher highs, the whole thing. I've got an alarm on this trend line to let me know when EOS is moving higher. On the 4 hour, just looks like this. So we've got our rally, now we've got our choppy correction, potentially a double bottom here, haven't we? And then EOS to go higher. So yeah, I like EOS. 7.36, but a bullish Gartley pattern usually means new highs for EOS. So that would mean that we would be looking for 22.7 and then 27.8 in EOS. Usually new highs. So looking good. If you're trading EOS against Bitcoin, then we'll take a quick look at EOS against Bitcoin. So you can see that we've had a pretty nice reversal here, 618 to the 382. Now, normally you could come back to the 50% in the middle. See what I mean here? So this was a 618, and we've gone to the 382. I expect we dip here, test the 50%, and if we do come back there, so 70,550 in EOS Bitcoin. If we dip back there, it would be a gift to buy. If we don't come back that far in EOS, and we might just do like an inverted head and shoulders pattern or something here, and we come back to around 76,500 and those daily moving averages, I think that also would be a gift to buy. I'm looking for EOS to go higher. So we'll do one more because we've done an hour.
Okay, we've got one more. Mr. Functovoid wants WTC.
WTC Walton. So Walton. Let's start on a daily chart with Walton, because here's Walton right on the 200-day moving average. And at a really good level where it's tried to base, but it just kind of keeps making. So you can see we've got a low, we tried to hold on it, we made a marginal new low. And so if you move this down, we tried to hold this low and we've held it. And here we are at the 200-day moving average. So what we're looking for now is a really good sign of a reversal. So far, we've stopped going down, but we haven't really got the reversal we're looking for. I'm going to put the fibs on from high to low because that will be our first target if we move higher, the 236 fib and these lows, so 19,500 if we can bounce from here. So when I look at the 4 hour, this is the reason it's not on my list tonight. When I look at the 4 hour tonight, we've had one bounce and now we're coming back to retest it. We really do need to hold these lows on a retest. So I'm going to say great level to bounce off. But no, hourly moving averages as well. We're all set to retest. So this is one that I'd like 24 hours more or 48 hours more to see Walton make a base here. And if it can, then I think we should see a really decent bounce. So just like Bitcoin, everything's set to do it from here, but we need to see a decent bounce. Okay, well, thanks very much for coming tonight. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate it on Twitter. And if there's anything you'd like to ask, you can always ask me on Twitter. Good night.